And we're live.
All right. Good morning. How are you doing, Shell?
Nah.
Yeah.
Middling.
Hope you feel well enough to do the show.
Well, if I run off, you'll know I didn't.
We'll hold the fort, okay?
Okay.
And hello to our people out there in the world. I hope you guys are having a good week. And yeah, it's been kind of touch and go here, but you know, we survive. We survive all of that, right?
Yeah. Vicky is here, and she was the first one in the chat, and she said, "Hello, lurkers." And then Barbara said, "Lurk, lurk."
Well, looks like my iPad's not going to cooperate, so I'm going to switch it out for my phone. Starting the day off right.
Cindy's here, and Sybil, hello. Glad you guys are here. I bet you're wondering what our topic is. It was kind of an obscure one, so.
Well, we kind of like to keep you guessing a little bit.
Yeah, makes it more interesting.
Yeah.
So, what we have planned for today, as far as I know, hi Susie, hi Cindy, hi Holly. Well, everyone is Peggy. Everyone knows what time we're supposed to be here, and they show up. It's really nice. Oh wow. So, the topic was what's cooking, and we are going to talk again about using embossing powder to enhance your art, your mixed media art. And we've done a show about this before, right after all the new embossing products came out last year at CHA. And there are so many more embossing powder products coming out this year because apparently Seth Apter, according to Mary Beth Shaw, Seth Apter said, "I'm going to bring back embossing."
Well,
and she said to him, "No way, no way," but he has. And now everyone is jumping on the bandwagon. There's tons of new embossing lines coming out, and all the people that you recognize their names, they're all coming out with embossing stuff. And so we just thought we would revisit it and show different ways that you can use embossing powder. I'm going to do something pretty simple, just enhancing my mixed media piece with some embossing layers, but I don't know what Peg's going to do. What are you going to do, Peg?
I'm not sure yet. I've got a bunch of stuff out here. I want to show you some of the tricks that I know just because I've been doing this for years. I know Shell's been doing this for years. And, last year when the whole thing first started up, everybody was crazy about these clear embossing powders that had a little bit of shade to it. So, my thing was, okay, we can make that. We can make that. So what you do is you just take some clear embossing powder, which I have right here. And I'm just going to get a little bit out in a mixing cup. So, any of those translucent powders that you're seeing, you don't need to go out and buy them if you have clear embossing powder and some alcohol ink. This one I did with mushroom. So you see it's got kind of a golden brown tone to it. This one, I'm going to put a little bit of butterscotch in so it looks a little bit more amber, like the one that we see everybody rushing out to buy. Not going to name names because I don't want to get shut down here, but just saying, you can make it any color you want just by mixing in a little bit of that alcohol ink and shading your embossing powder. And you just want to make sure that it's mixed thoroughly. If that's a little bit too golden, I can add a little bit of this slate to it just to knock it back here.
You really don't even have to use alcohol ink if you don't have it. If you have dye-based reinkers.
Yep.
for your ink pads. You can use that to tint it too, because I did that on our last show.
Well, it's basically just tinting because you know, if you stamp something with dye-based ink, that color is going to come through a translucent. So if I am putting down color, let's just take some colors here, swipe them on here. Just putting a little bit of salty ocean, distress oxide, and a little bit of fossilized amber. And let's get another color on here. Let's do worn lipstick. Okay. So if I'm using this powder that I just created over the top of this, it's going to shade it, but it's not going to obliterate it. I'm going to spritz that with some water just to blend it out a little bit. And heat tool.
Heat tool. Oh, she's got her microphone off, I could tell. Well, while she's heating that, I'll show you what I'm going to do today. I've started a mixed media piece. I made a drawing this morning, and when I was driving around the roads a couple days ago before I got a little bit sick, I saw here in Arizona that the California poppies are coming out. So all of you who are buried in snow, here in Arizona, the spring is coming. So I thought I would do some California poppies. So I took a piece of watercolor paper and I drew my image on it with some regular pencil. And then I wanted a darker background, so I used some indigo high flow in kind of a watercolor way to fill in the background. I didn't want you guys to have to watch me do all this. I thought I could get it colored before we started, but I didn't. So I'm now coloring in the image itself with some alcohol markers. And then, as you can see, I have every kind of embossing powder you could possibly imagine. I've got thick, I've got thin, I've got colors, I've got custom blends that I made. Like this one was one of those tinted ones we were talking about that I made last time we were on the show. I've got so much embossing powder that I don't need to purchase anything. So I'm going to show you how to do custom blends by just blending in little things and then enhancing your image, whatever mixed media piece that you've made, using embossing powder. It makes it shiny, it makes it raised, and you can get speckled effects. You can put stuff in it. It is great fun stuff. It's just kind of it's just, we've been there. We did that, but I guess we're going to do it again.
Well,
so I'm just,
you know, it's not that we don't like it. We do like it. That's why we got it all in the first place, you know?
Yep. That's why I own 1,000 things of embossing powder that I haven't used in 20 years.
But we definitely are not going to go out and buy more when we haven't used up all the stuff that we have.
Yeah, and we aren't saying that you shouldn't buy it. If you think it's awesome and you love what we do and you don't own any embossing powder, then by all means, buy it.
Yep.
We'll show you how to use it. It's just that we're probably not going to buy it. Plus, Peg's been on a design team for a couple of years, so she's got a more embossing powder than I ever thought was possible to own. She showed me her drawer. It was amazing. I don't know where she went. Something must have happened. So anyway, I've got some greens. These are dull green. That's what it's called. I didn't name it that. from the Spectrum Noir, and I'm just I've drawn in these kind of lacy poppy stems and leaves, and I'm just coloring them at the moment. That's I would have liked to have had more of this done before we had to start, but it took an amazingly long amount of time to do this. So
yeah, some days are like that, you know.
yeah.
Sometimes things take longer than you anticipate.
Yeah.
So how's everybody doing out there in TV land?
TV land.
Says they're talking about the heat and, you know, weather and all
Weather
that
and
stuff.
spring coming to Arizona.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. It's still a little bit cold, but you know, colder. What I would consider cold, which would probably be considered shorts weather to most people.
Yeah. Short weather.
I think 60 degrees Fahrenheit is like cold enough to wear a coat, hat, and mittens.
Oh, no, no, no. No, that's So, okay, so I've got a background on here, and I've got this powder that I've mixed up with my colorant, and I'm going to dump that into a little tray from the dollar store. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to wet this down with some Versamark. So I'm just going to coat my tag using Versamark, and I should probably do this. Oh well.
Versamark is sticky ink, by the way, if you guys don't know, if you're new to embossing. It's just basically
with any clear
glycerin sticky. Yeah.
Yeah. So like
sticky.
If you've got those old embossing pads or, you know, clear pigment ink. Oops, that's the wrong one. This lid is what I'm looking for. So I'm just going to dump this onto the card that has the embossing powder, the Versamark. Can't even talk today. Versamark on there, and get a thin coat. Because what I'm looking for is that faux encaustic look.
Encaustic is putting beeswax over your project and embedding things in it. In some cases, it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is cool. So I've got a coat on there. Let's see if I can get this any closer for you guys so you can see it. Yeah, there we go. So I'm just gonna see, here's my mix. You can see that it's golden in tone. Set that aside. Gonna grab my heat tool, and this is gonna make noise, sorry.
We're going to make noise today. There's no possible way that we could not make noise if we were doing embossing. You have to heat it so that the plastics melt. I'm still coloring. How is that ridiculous?
Okay.
Ooh, shiny.
So I think that's a cool look right there. It's glossy and shiny. But when you don't want it glossy and shiny, all you do is take a little matte medium. And I've got some right here. I'm going to coat this with my matte medium just to dull it down so it looks more like the beeswax encaustic. Or just paint a coat of that matte medium over the top. And I used what I had. I didn't go out and buy a bunch of stuff. And I'll be pretty well happy with that. once that dries down. So that's how you create a translucent effect on your embossing powder. The other thing that I've seen lately is, you know, these canvas boards where people are, let me back that out a little bit. People are working on larger pieces and they're embossing on them and they're doing all kinds of things. This is just a cheap board that I put some molding paste on, you know, made it dimensional, put some spray ink on. But now if I want to come in and alter this with embossing powders, what I have here is a cup with some vegetable glycerin. This is just something that you can get probably in your baker's aisle. And because the glycerin is sticky, I can paint this on here where I want it. So if I want that glossy look that we just did, I can come in here with my glycerin and I can paint this down on my surface. I don't want too much because it will leak out. That's probably a little more than I needed. But I can just take a rag, wipe a little bit of that back. And then I've got this other one that I created, which was I forget now. This was not slate, it was something else. But I can put this onto my surface and create that kind of watery look on here. And if it's someplace where I don't want it, you know, I can take a rag or something and push it back before I heat set that. So, you know, this stuff works on your larger mixed media projects too.
Absolutely. Still coloring. I've got my oranges and reds out now. And I'm working on my petals, my poppies, using different Spectrum Noir alcohol markers like I was before. This is a 140-pound watercolor paper. And I got it switched to the smooth side of it. It's cold press, but it does have a smooth and a rough side. So I'm using the smooth side because this is going to be a mixed media piece. It's got some acrylic in the background. It's got illustration. It's got, let's see what color that is. No, that wasn't the one I wanted. It's got some coloring, and then it's going to have enhancements on the top with embossing when I get done doing all this crazy coloring. What is everyone saying? So about embossing powders, they're talking about embossing powders. There's different grades of embossing powder, and there's this stuff back in the day that was called ultra thick embossing enamel. It's really chunky. It's like it's been chopped up with a chopper instead of put in, you know, a blender or something. That one's different. And then that's what I like to make that amber stuff out of. And companies have that out now. These two are from Emerald Creek, and they're a couple mixed chunky embossing powders. Then you have your regular grade, which is just kind of a medium in between, not as chunky. And then there is ultra fine. And ultra fine stuff, I don't really think there's much use in blending that particularly with anything unless you just want a little bit of glimmer or something. It's really, really chopped up. So you do have to keep that in mind. But you can get all these interesting blends of different ones with, you know, speckles of stuff in them. And all that stuff is out there, or you can make it yourself.
Yes, and that's the beauty of having a variety of embossing powders. I mean, I have both the ultra thick and the regular mix. I've got stuff with glitter. I've got things that I use for jewelry making. One of the things is this Beauty Flex. This is an additive that you can still get. You have to Google it to find it. But it's an old product from Suze Weinberg, and it's used for melt art. And what you do is you add a little bit of this to your embossing powder, and it keeps it flexible. So like if you were doing something in a journal and your pages were going to be flexing and things, you may want to add a little bit of UT to it because, you know, that stuff is not always real flexible. Sometimes it breaks and cracks, and you don't want that stuff breaking and cracking off. So
yes, Barb, you can use Pearl X powder to tone your clear powder. Absolutely.
Yeah.
It'll make it shimmery if you've got the mica types. Pearl X is like got mica in it and pigment.
Let me get a little bit of something out here so that you guys can see what it looks like.
Oh, I need to flip it back. Just so busy trying to get this darn thing colored up.
Here I've got some perfect pearl powders, and you can see this portion right here that I did was done with one of those powders that has different granulations in the grind, so you can see that you can see the color through from behind. You can see that there are larger granules, that there are smaller ones that are, you know, making little tiny dots. But that's the beauty of embossing powder. What makes me go ooh ah about embossing powder is it becomes a mixed media product that you can use so many different ways. So here I have some perfect pearls, and I'm just going to take a sponge with my Versamark, and I'm going to sponge some of that Versamark down because I want something for that to stick to. So let's pick another spot on here. Let's go right over here and add a little bit of Versamark onto this background. Then I've got a couple different colors of the perfect pearls. I need a nice soft brush. So let me grab a soft brush, and I'm going to put down a little bit of these pearls onto my surface and get that shimmery effect. And I think I want to add more colors. Let me go back in here. Add some more color. And this time I will switch out to a darker blue. And put down that darker blue color in here. And then, because I still have my Versamark out, I am going to take that, just go right over the top of that a little bit. You see it's picking up a little bit of the pearls, but I'm going to add some of that amber that we just created over the top of that. Right in there. In that section. Dump that back. And then I will heat set that.
You could also, you know, just mix it in if you wanted to. Of course. So I'm almost done with my coloring. Almost. Almost. Got one more flower left. I don't use these alcohol markers very often, but they are fun. They do really give a smooth blend if you do it right. They don't get all streaky like the water-based ones, which is nice.
Yeah, Barb, Perfect Pearls is like Pearl X. The only thing is it has gum arabic added to it as a binder. So if you wanted it to be the same thing, you would just add gum arabic to your Pearl X.
I've never found gum arabic in a powder. I have some of it in a liquid format, but I assume it does come in a powder, or else you wouldn't be able to add it to Pearl X. Yay, I think I'm done coloring. Let's get to the embossing, darn it. All right, what do I have? The leaves, I've got, let's see what colors I've got. Black. Rust.
Yeah, I think you should have a play date, Barb.
She has 24 colors of Pearl X, she says.
Yeah,
I have
well,
Pearl X in my bin.
In great big sets, you know?
Yeah. Trying to find some colors that I want to use. Maybe, no, I like this one too. Okay. Gold. Okay, where's my... I don't know where my Versa marker is. No, I don't want an update in the middle of my thing, you stupid. Oh my gosh. Go away. That is ridiculous. Okay, so I have some Versamark re-inker, and I have like a water brush. Make sure it's a clean water brush. I don't want it to be too wet, just a little bit wet. And I'll just put a drop of this Versamark re-inker in a dish if I can. Come on, get in there. It's very thick. It's goopy. And I'm going to, guess I'm going to start with these. I don't know. What should I start with? Maybe some enhancement on my petals with a little bit of darker red to start with. And some of these. You can just paint the Versamark on there with a brush here and there where you think it might be interesting. Just for fun. So this is kind of like doing an underpainting because I've done the parts underneath with color already, like you would with like maybe a paper painting collage type situation if you were really getting serious. And I want to make sure that my tray isn't gonna make all the powder stick to it. These are little embossing powdered static removers, and my tray is kind of a pain. It gets all staticky and wants everything to stick to it. So let's just get some powder on there. So the powder sticks where I put the Versamark reinker. And then I can just put the excess back in here with some amount of success. It did not all come out, but I don't know what's in there that makes it do that. And then I can heat this up. Let's see what Peg's doing while I'm heating. She's still got her sound off.
I'm just doing layers, you know, adding to this kind of flow across this particular piece. I want to show you guys some other things though. Let me get this heat set and then I will move on to another project. So I'm just gonna, you know, heat this up. You can see that I do not have a perfect coverage because I want to be able to see those colors coming from underneath. One of the things that I find the most interesting about mixed media pieces are the layers, the depth that you can get. So I want to be able to see all of that coming through from the underside. So let me just set this aside. And I want to show you guys some other things. Now, you guys probably all have some chipboard pieces. These are really old ones from Magenta. These are some that I have from Basil. You know, I've had these things for years. And what I'm doing is I'm taking a chipboard piece and, excuse me, just a moment.
So now I've got that heat set, and I'm going to take what's left in this tray and put it in my little cup here, just by brushing it, because it always just likes to stick to everything. So annoying. That's one thing about embossing powder that I never enjoyed. It's that it sticks to everything. And then I'm going to add a little bit of this orange powder to it, just a tiny bit. And where's my little scoops? Oh, I'm missing my scoops. Well, I'll use a palette knife, I guess. I have these little metal scoops. But I can mix a little bit of this, maybe a little bit of the gold. Let's see. I can find some gold. A couple flecks of gold in it. This is where you can become your own alchemist. You can just, you know, start to mix things together. I think I need a little bit more orange in that mix.
Sorry, we have other people in the house today. And they had projects in mind that were not going to be conducive to filming.
Ah.
So, anyway, back to where I was. So I've got these chipboard pieces. And what you want to do when you're working on these chipboard pieces, like if I'm going to coat this with some paper, you want to make sure that you are sealing it down with something like a matte medium, because the embossing powder will sink into your paper. So you just need to be aware that you need a coat on there first, because paper will absorb embossing powder. So I'm just going to glue down my piece of paper onto my chipboard and coat both top and the bottom with some matte medium. And we'll let that dry before I do any embossing on top of that. But over here, you can see this is the tag that we had done. You can see that the blue picks up a little bit of the green tinge because you're putting that yellow amber color over the top of it. But it also has that semi-gloss effect, just like a wax coat would on there. Susie says she has to fly 7 hours. Good grief. Hi, Becky. Good morning. Hour more drive in either direction from a big city. Wow. You guys. 2 real art stores. That's cool.
Don't have any real art stores here.
No, that's why we have online shopping.
So you can see my little orange and red and gold mixture there. It's kind of like speckly where I put that on and heated it. And I'm going to do that to some more of my flowers over here so that it all matches. But I don't have very much of that mixture, so it's not going to go very far. Just a little bit. Hopefully it'll cover every place. Sometimes I just want to use a piece of paper instead of my tray. But the bottom of my cup is also very staticky because I didn't think about maybe being smart enough to put any anti-static stuff on that, unfortunately. That would have been smart, huh?
Might have helped a little bit.
Just a little bit. Probably not that much, to be honest. But even that tiny little bit is going a long way if you just keep reusing it. I didn't want to have a bunch left over of that mixture. I only just wanted a tiny little bit, so That works for me.
Yep. Work for me too. Let's see. I need some ink. I'm edging a butterfly.
Edging a butterfly.
Well, you know,
I
when
do
you
like
make a tag, you got to put something on the tag, right?
All right. Yeah, pretty happy with that. And I'll heat that. I'm not overheating this because each time I heat, the one that was previously cooked is getting more cooking. So that is one drawback. I'm paying really close attention to make sure that I don't like keep heating it until it sinks into the paper. That's why I'm using the low heat thing, the heat it tool. It's also quieter rather than my big embossing one that I like to use.
You know, they're both useful. You just have to think about how you're going to use it and what it's going to do and how powerful it's going to be.
Yeah. Okay, let's clean this out and get another color going. We probably have some yellowish something, probably. So if you don't have any embossing powder at all, there is one thing that I saw is this like whole embossing painting kit. That's basically what I have. It's not called that, but I have like I have sets of full sets of colors that were from Stampin' Up. But there's like a 24 color embossing painting kit out there somewhere. I saw it on Amazon, and I'll try to remember to link it. But this time I think I'm going to add this mustard color, the orange color, and then some of this crystal clear to make it a little bit more translucent to my mixture. So got mustard, orange, and clear. And once again, I didn't think about using my anti-static bag. Hopefully, hopefully it'll be fine. So I'm gonna go over the areas that have some kind of light yellowy oranges on it. Still just using Versamark ink and a water brush, ink re-inker, a water brush to spread the stuff on there.
So I'm going to some embellishments. I like to use embossing powder on embellishments. And how I do that is like, here's a spare parts group of things that I got for $1.50 out of the discount aisle. And it has all of these little findings and things. And so I'm cutting pieces of paper just with a punch. I've got a hole punch here. And so I've got some like scrap paper, and I might want something to go into the background of this particular piece. So I can just take my scrap paper and I can punch a circle. And that circle is going to fit inside of my, let me get it a little bit closer. It's going to fit inside of my metallic piece, just like so. And then I'm going to coat that with the matte medium so that the paper is sealed. And then I can put embossing powder on top of that. So here's that mixture that we made earlier today. And I'm going to pour a little bit of that in. Just move it around to the sides. I'm going to dump off a little bit of the excess because I can put layer upon layer on this. And this metal is going to get really hot. So you want to remember that when you're working with metal. Not to touch. Put a sign up. Do not touch the metal until it cools.
But I like burning myself. Okay, not really.
One of the other things that you can get, I just go to like a Tractor Supply or something like that. They've got these tools that are meant for surgical things that will lock in place. It's got a locking clasp here. So you can lock on things like this while they're hot. If you're going to use things like this while they're hot, then you can dip and then wipe off the excess. And then you can go back and heat again. And as long as that is hot, as long as that powder is hot, it's going to grab the next layer. So I can just take a little bit, dump it on, spread it around, heat it. And it's a quick way to get that, resin look without having to do all the pouring and, you know, all the stuff that's involved with mixing and pouring resin. I hope you guys can see that well enough. I'll put some pictures up later, but you know, you get a nice clear coat on there. It's got a little bit of shading to it, which gives it that antique look. And I'm going to do the same thing with these butterflies. I'm just going to hit this butterfly with some Versamark. And I'm going to coat this one with that other color that we had created, which I think included the butterscotch. So it's a little more yellow tone. And I'm just going to dip that in, get it coated.
Mine's burning me somewhere.
And then I will heat.
So this is looking pretty interesting. Starting to really get some dimension build up on it. I think I'm going to go in with some dark. So I have this burgundy color that I might, or maybe this rust color. I don't know. I might mix those two together. Maybe a different bowl. Rust and burgundy mixed. Come on. I think this little bag is almost empty of powder. I don't know. Maybe. So this says it's rust color. This one would be fun for some crazy rusty effects mixed with gold and black and maybe a little bit of that turquoise color. That'd be cool. I think I'm gonna mix a little clear in with that too. Where did the clear go? Getting so crazy here. I've got all this stuff. I don't even know. Somewhere I have clear. That's neat. There it is. Scoop of clear. Maybe I want some chunks in that. Let's see. Here's some thicker gold. Oh, that's not even opened. That tells you how interested I was in using that at the time. Oh, the bronze would have been better. I have bronze. Let's throw some of that in there too. Getting a little bit crazy over here. Mix all those up. Yeah, a little bit more rust. It doesn't look very orange colored. Okay. Let's get some of that on there. See how it is. How about down here at the bottom of that? Down at the bottom of this. Maybe right there along that shadow line. Shadow line right there. This is fun. This is a lot of fun. Peg must be running her embossing thing again. Oh my gosh, this is not coming out of the bowl at all. My desk is going to be crunchy for days.
That's the way it goes, yeah.
I blame you, Peg, for my crunchy desk.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This was your idea.
Guilty as charged. But you're having fun, right?
Yep, I'm making a mess.
Yep.
It's not sticking that much. All right, I have to heat this now. Well, there comes the bronze.
Let's see. Where is my... adhesive. Get rid of some of this mess. I have a tile down because I can pick that up and wipe it off, and it'll take the heat. And these are inexpensive from the hardware store. So I keep a few of these on hand for any of the heat projects that I have. You know, they're going to tell you to go out and buy all kinds of expensive doodads to work on. This is one of my hacks for some of those.
Yep, we're already starting hacks.
We are starting hacks for some of those things that you're going to see coming out. So, you know, think about, you know, this tile, which is about 18 by 18 from the hardware store that I can work on for a surface that's about, I don't know, $1.50 versus what you're going to spend for some of those work surfaces. Spend your money somewhere else on some other things that you like.
I think I'm pretty happy with my flowers right now.
That's good. I like what you're doing there.
They look pretty cool. I think I'm going to start working on maybe the leaves, I guess, next.
Hi, Debbie. Hi, Lisa. Hi, Peggy. I don't think I've spoken with you guys yet this morning. Pink. Holly. Oh, here, yay. So I'm just going to put a little bit of tacky glue on the back of this tag because I want to put a backer on it. And it was handy. So I don't even know where the lid to it went. I've got an old pin stuck in there and somebody else's lid on there. Because I want to use it all up. And you see, I've got a clip on the end because I've used it down that far and I intend to use it all. So I just roll it up and flip it. Another one of my little clips for using what you got. So I'm just going to spread that around. Pop it onto some cardstock. Like so. Try not to get my fingers on it. Now I got stuff coming out the side. I tell you, I am a mess today.
Aren't we all? I just love copper and bronze.
A couple of clips to clip that down. Keep it in place while I'm working here. I'm just going to trim that off. And you can put some kind of weight on this, you know. I've got a mess of glue there. That's not very pretty. Okay, so my embellishments, what do I do with them? I'm still working on these. There's my little jewelry type binding piece. And where'd the butterfly go that I was working on? No, it's here. I know it's here. I know it's here. Oh, there it is. So there, I've coated that. Clear coated that. And so that's going to make a nice embellishment on there. I need to clear coat this. And I think I'm going to use this one this time. So I'll get my Versamark. Very dirty Versamark. Get that coated. Dump on my embossing powder. There we go. Got it all coated. And what you can do, my little tweezers or something, I can just put that onto something else while I heat it. I'm not burning my fingers. Going to start off at a distance. Come down. And there we have it. Now it's a little bit dimply. If you want it smoother than that, you just take your powder, add another layer.
Well, that was pretty fun.
What you doing?
I mixed sage and olive and bronze chunky mixture in my cup, and then put that on my leaves. You can see maybe it's like kind of almost like a verdigris type color.
Cool.
I think I'm going to work on my background a little bit.
Very cool.
I'm going to do, I think, some stenciling on my background. If I can find something that I want to stencil with without going too far away.
So you can see how all of these things can come together then. You've got the background that you've created. You've got these components. You know, if you don't want it glossy, just remember to coat that stuff with a matte coat. But you've got it sealed in really nicely. And I can see I'm not on screen. So we'll talk about this later.
You actually were on screen. Remember, there's a little bit of a delay.
Okay. So let's go back to that other piece I was working on. I need to do some more work on that.
Get out a couple of these things. Ah, everything's sticking together. Stop it. Well, all my silly stencils are sticking together, but while she's heating, I guess if I want this one or if I want this one. Stencils, especially these little lacy ones, they stick together because they lock their plastic parts in with each other. I think this one would be good. So I'm just going to take my Versamark, which is probably as dirty. Maybe not. I kind of cleaned it last time. And I'm going to just use it as a sponge and go through a stencil into some of this background area. Trying to avoid my flowers. But I want to get some texture into this background. You know? You do?
You know? Bye, Sybil. Bye, Becky.
Oh, is the show getting to the end?
No, they're leaving.
Oh, they're just leaving.
Yeah. Just want to say goodbye.
Okay. All right, we'll see how that goes. On my big tray. Whoops. Just dumped embossing powder all over everything. I blame you. So here's a color called dark denim.
I can't be the only one that makes messes.
So I got embossing ink in places that I didn't want it. So I'm just brushing the powder off from those places that I didn't want it. Like on my flowers and leaves. Just using a dry brush. All right, let's get that heated.
All right.
I want to use my loud one. I'll just go muted here for a second.
Yeah, sometimes you have to hit it with more heat. It's just
Yeah, it's going to take too long to do it with that other one.
Yeah, it does. Take a while. But it gets the job done and it doesn't blow everything all over. So as you can see here, guys, I'm just starting to get some different layers for effect on here. It's helping to emphasize the textural elements that are on here. And I'll continue to do that layering with different powders and things. Once I get my initial coat on, then I can come back and heat it up in any area and I can just sprinkle it in, which is something that I like to do. So I'm going to take my quieter tool. I'm going to heat this corner down here because I just put some powder on it. So Holly says she likes that trick, Shell. And this powder actually has several different grinds in it. You can see that some of it is a little more textural than others. And it's got a pearlescent color to it. So it's getting a little bit of shine. It's almost like a frosting or a, you know, a glaze.
So this turned out pretty cool. Add some texture to the background. I think I'm going to do a little bit more of that. Maybe with some like silver type colors. But I'm going to use a sponge instead of the Versamark pad because I noticed that the pad wants to make squarish lines. So I'm going to try somewhere I have glycerin, and what I should do is get out the glycerin. I just don't know where the heck it is right now. So hopefully I can apply some of this Versamark with the sponge in a few areas.
So how many secret embossing hoarders do we have in the crowd, you know?
We haven't asked. Do you think they'll tell us?
I don't know. I don't know. I did a little research this morning because I was looking at different things that we've used over the years for embossing. You remember Ranger had this melting pot that we used to use to melt embossing powder in, and then we would put our embellishments in here and it would heat them up. One of the things that I have used in the past when I was doing multiple things is I have an old frying pan, electric frying pan, that I would put tins in to collect the embossing powder. And you can set that like at about 300 and it's going to melt your stuff just like these melting pots did. But I was looking online to see if they still make these. I don't see the melting pot, but I do see one from Doris that's about $10 if you're interested in adding anything like that to your stash. But yeah, they still make them. They're still out there. People are still using them. So
You can put chocolate with them too.
all of the stuff that I did today, I could have done just with the heat underneath, because it will melt from the underside too. So if you're pouring things on, I should demonstrate that. If I'm pouring on my embossing powders, let's just take a swatch where this is just a plain card. And I'm going to use some different embossing powders on here in a random fashion. Let's get a little bit of this new one here. Just putting it down here in a random fashion. So I can take my heat tool, get it hot, and heat from the underside. Now, if I were to immediately attempt to go to that from the top side, that would have all blown off and been all over my desktop. But you can see I can get that to melt from the underside. And if it's still like this and I want to put an impression in it, let's go back and heat that again. And I'm going to take my Versamark, ink that up, and I'm going to press that into that embossing powder and just let it cool for a minute. And you can see that you can get an impression in your embossing powder that way. So, you know, now I've got this. If I wanted to make another image to enhance that, I can use my same powders and just create some embellishments. Gonna put a little bit of this one down. It's very textural. See how grainy that is. And then I will come back with that other one, wherever it is. That's not it. Oh, where did you go? There you go. So I can put a little bit of that down. And create an embellishment. Actually, this would be faster from underneath. And then I can just take a pair of scissors and cut those out. You don't want to cut too close to your embossing powder because you can crack it and it will crack off. But you can cut right around that. Let me get this out of here before I spill it. And put some lids back on. And then we'll cut around this. Well, you know, everybody messes up, Debbie. Don't let that intimidate you. You just keep working. You just keep going, you know, because some of my things that I end up loving the most is just another layer away from, you know, I got a mess. It's just another layer away from being beautiful. So, you know, sometimes you just have to go with it. So, you know, you can start putting these on here, and I would probably add some more color in the background, maybe even a contrast to this, or maybe color the hearts that are on the front. You know, think about your composition once you get to this point. What colors do you want to use? Do you want those raised off of there? So, you know, you can add some dimensional tape to the backs of these. So I can, you know, definitely come in and put a dimensional tape behind here. And then I can also pick up some of those colors. Oh, I don't know what happened to Shell. I lost her. Huh. I lost Shell. Okay, maybe she'll come back in. Let me check
I'm
and see
here.
what.
I'm
You
here.
there?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I was muted, but
Okay.
I was heating this up. I guess I can show them.
Well, it's kind of like you were gone there for a minute.
I put some pearl on, and I put some more of this olive down here on the leaves. It's very shiny. It's very dimensional.
Oh, that's so cool. Lisa says that she just had to emboss something. That's wonderful. That's what this is about, Lisa. We want to inspire you to create, you know?
I think I'm just going to work on my flowers a little bit more, and then I'll be done with this. I think, what do we got, like 10 minutes or something?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I'm not going to finish that canvas today. I'm just showing you techniques and how you can, because, you know, this is a long-term project. That is layer on layer on layer. So, you know, even when I came on today, I already had the background layer down, and I had sprayed it with some spray inks to get some color down, and then I start putting the embossing powders on there. So, you know, it's just layering up those mixed media elements. But like this, okay, so now I've got these embellishments that I created, and I've got this tag, and I just put a little bit of archival ink around the edge of that. I want to grab some crayon. Let's see. What do I have? I've got some marabou here and some distress. Here's maybe I want a contrasting color. Let's go with, let me grab a few things out here. Not sure where I'm going to go with this. Maybe even a little, well, I like that color. Let's go towards something on the cool side. Let's try those. It's all about trial and error, right? So
Definitely.
a bit of marabou. I'm just going to put it out here on top of the embossing, and I'm going to rub it in because it's going to blend into those areas that are recessed, and then it's going to also hit the cardstock in the back that's still exposed. So that's a really pretty color. I like that color. And let's do a little bit of this. Do I want green? Do I want yellow? I think I want yellow. A little bit of yellow in here. Brighten it up. It's turning green anyway with the blue I got on my finger. So that's kind of cool. Let me grab my, need a wetter wipe. So I want to clean that. I want to see that embossing powder. So I want to clean that off of the embossing powder surface because you see how pretty that is? It's got texture and stuff in it. But then I also want to add a little bit of color to these. So let's see. Do I want... Yeah, I think I'll start with that yellow I have here. Just blend that in. And here. And there's the blue. Just a little bit of that. And then I'll clean off again with my wipe so that you can see the sparkle in the embossing powder. And then those can get positioned on my tag. Make a cute little tag, right? Like so. Okay. Easy peasy. Little Valentine tag to go on a Valentine gift, right?
Yep.
So let's go back to this one. Should be dried down now so I can take the clips off of it. And I might want to add a little embellishment to that. I'm thinking about right in here. I can clip that. Ugh. And a little bit of brown. Shell's favorite color, right?
Ew. I didn't like it. I guess it can be useful sometimes.
Yeah. For me, it's very useful. I like brown. So, let's see. I need a little glossy accents or something like that. And just had it out this morning. So think about all the stuff that you've got in your stash. You know, I've got all of these kinds of embellishments that would be really cool to emboss and layer on things. All that chipboard. I'm thinking they would make some really cool mixed media pieces. So I'm going to use this glossy accents just because it dries quickly. If I had my glue gun out here, I probably could use that too, but you know me. Don't have all that stuff plugged in right now. So I'm going to glue this down.
This turned out pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it.
Stop being so stupid, stencils.
Let's see. What else do I want to put on here? Oh, I forgot about my other embellishment. I am so bad. I made multiple embellishments. Where did it go?
They ran off.
Yeah. Too much stuff out on the desk. You know, when you're trying to show multiple things, it just gets to be too much stuff on the desk. Get those crayons put out of sight. And my ink out of sight. This needs to be cut down. Huh. There's another ink pad. Escapee. All right, so there's my other little embellishment that I've made. And this can hang as a, oops, that's the wrong one. This can hang as an embellishment at the top if you're tying things on. So I think that's about all I'm going to get done today because we're at the top of the hour.
Yep, time's up. Got all your things. 2 tags. I got one thing done.
Anybody have any questions about embossing that we missed? Or I see Lisa. Yeah, I did stamp the already melted, and it just leaves an impression. Just leaves an impression in there. You get that textural stuff. You know, you can create your texture first, like I did on here, or I can come back in and stamp into it. Make your own impressions. Thanks, Holly. Yeah, green. Vicky's favorite color is green. How do I know that? You're welcome, Susie. I hope we're teaching you something new. You know, that's what we try to do is share. You know, we've been doing this for a lot of years, and we don't know what different people know and what they don't know. We just put it out there.
Yep. All right, I guess we're done. I don't see any other questions coming in. Just thank yous.
Yeah.
So thanks, everyone. See you next week.
Yep. Thanks
Bye-bye.
for being here. We love you. Bye.